Today we will be mostly talking about social media marketing. This is too loud. I have to introduce myself. My name is Yuri Butkovski, and I graduated in 2015. Professor Starostin was one of my many teachers. And currently I work for the Central Bank of Russia, and I do kind of the same thing I always did at my work. I do social media, I do public relations, etc., etc. So we will be, how do I make this full screen? Never mind. So we'll be talking about social media, and I'd like to start with the way advertising is. I can't do this. How do I make this full screen from the? No, please don't do anything like that. Sorry about that. Obviously, I wasn't prepared for. No, it just quits. So. How did... It's not doing anything. Well, never mind. Oh, because it's not open in iBooks. Yep, there we go. So, advertising is obviously changing. On the screen we can see some Soviet-era advertising, and we can see that, first of all, it's not that creative, and second, the message is very straightforward. You can always see and read what the seller wants to sell you, and there's no subliminal messages. There's no subtext. It's always written on paper. But nowadays, we cannot really say that advertising is all the same every single time. Have you seen this event done by Red Bull? Show of hands, who has seen this thing? So 5 people. Okay, can anyone tell me what this was and what really happened there? Anyone? So basically, what Red Bull did, they organized an event called Red Bull Stratus, as you can see on the. Can you actually see it? Can everyone see what's written on the screen? Yeah. Okay. So Red Bull organized this Red Bull Stratus thing where they tried to set a world record for highest parachute jump. And the guy actually, Felix Baumgartner, he jumped from the stratosphere, which was about 160,000 feet, which is very, very high. And they branded it so people who tuned into the live stream, who watched it online anywhere else, or on YouTube, people would actually see who's the sponsor, and people would be aware of Red Bull organizing this thing. So there's no direct like a call to action or anything else. It's just branded event, and that's what companies tend to be doing right now. And when you work in marketing, you can work with 3 types of media. The first one is paid. It's targeted to the general public. Basically, it's when you do targeted ads on social networks. For example, when you scroll through the news feed, you get a sponsored post from some kind of language school, etc. This is paid media. When you pay for clicks, you pay for 1,000 clicks, you pay for impressions, that sort of stuff. It's targeted on general public. Or planting content in communities, where you don't directly, you don't show that this is an ad. You pay the, for example, page admin to post something you want to with some kind of ad hidden within the content. The second type is owned media. Basically, it's something that your company already owns, for like a website, brand pages on social networks, something you do yourself, and you only pay your employees to to do that. And the third one is the most important type of media for social media marketing. It is earned media. So basically, through paid and owned media, you can earn your own fan base. You can grow loyal customers, loyal followers, who will do word-of-mouth marketing. Is when you suggest something to a friend, or tell your mum to buy something, something like that. That's word-of-mouth marketing. Likes and reposts, which is called overall engagement. So everything people do on your page is user engagement, and it can be counted, it can be analyzed. It is a KPI, actually. Is anyone familiar with the acronym UGC? And it's a very important one for social media marketing. It's called. Is there chalk? Is there any chalk? Never mind. I'll go to notes. So UGC is user-generated content, and it's very important for if you are running some kind of community, because eventually your employee, or you, if you're running the page, you'll run out of ideas, and you will need the community to support you to make, I don't know, memes with your brand or something like this. So UGC is one of the pillars of social media marketing, because it shows how alive your community is. So yeah, and of course, free reviews it's when you don't pay people to say how amazing your product is. Is when people make honest, objective reviews, hopefully positive, about your product or service or whatever it is. The pros of earned media are that, first of all, people trust your brand. People are free to engage, and they are willing to engage with the brand. They are willing to communicate. They are willing to leave comments, to discuss anything on your page. The other one is influence. When you have a loyal fan base, people will be, I don't know, people will be positively reacting to whatever you post, except for some extreme situations. The longevity of it, I've seen communities run for years on Facebook, on VK, where it's just people creating, having their own pool of creative thought, and people creating things and constantly discussing, and all the while being loyal to the brand in question. For example, is anyone here following Burger King on VK in Vkontakte? So basically, if you Google, if you go to VK and you search for a Burger King community, what they have 3 million followers or more now, and they do situational content. They post memes, but these memes are very close to the brand in question, to Burger King. So they adapt the content to the product, burgers and fries, and etc., etc. And it's very youth-oriented, so people find it funny. And it's been going for quite a while now. You can find it on VK if you're interested. So just look for Burger King in VK, you'll find it. The fourth pro of earned media is reach, because as your fan base is growing, as word-of-mouth marketing is working, your fan base will be constantly growing, and you will be able to reach more people than paid media. You will not be constrained by budgets. You will not be constrained by basically anything. Your fans will do the work for you if you grow the right fan base. The cons are there are no guarantees, because you're not paying for anything, and it's very hard work. It's very hard work, and it's basically touch and go. It may work, it may not work. The secret is you just have to keep trying. It's very risky. It's logical, and you cannot control it. You cannot control earned media because you cannot control people's opinions initially. Maybe when you grow a loyal fan base, you will be able to work something out. But as your fan base is growing, you will not be able to control people who don't like some types of content. And it's very hard to measure. I will be talking later about KPIs. There are no distinct KPIs for earned media because it's a very vague concept, but it's a very effective one. So this piece of news is very important for people who are interested in social media because 2 years ago, VK has surpassed the Channel 1 in terms of the daily audience, which is very important because I will be showing you some statistics later. And it's becoming increasingly, social media are becoming increasingly powerful. And you cannot deny that people tend to draw their opinions or just consume content not from the TV screen but from the mobile phone. So this is the first bit of statistics. The general audience of social networks, as we all know, the population of our country is about 143 million people, and 68.5 million people are actively they have active accounts on social media. So basically, it's a little bit more than a third of the country are using social media on a daily basis. And 42.5 million people are using mobile accounts. They're using social media on their phones, tablets, etc. The usage time people spend on any device, so mobile, tablet, desktop computer, they spend an average of almost 2 hours a day, which is a crazy number because most of the people are supposed to be working, but all they do during the workday, they scroll through the newsfeed and look for funnies. So it's a little bit less than a time spent in front of a TV screen, but there is an explanation to that. When you consume social media content, it's very dispersed. You don't just sit in front of it for a long period of time. You log on, log off, log on, log off, and you do all that during the day, for the whole day. In terms of a TV, you just turn it on, watch a football game, turn it off, go to bed. So, but this will in a couple of years, this number will equal, according to some experts, this number will equal and then surpass the time spent in front of a TV. So monthly audiences. This graph is a bit dodgy. It didn't really work. It was supposed to work automatically, but so anyway, the monthly audience, VK, 87 million people, the most popular social network in Russia by far. The second place is OK, 47 million people. The third one is Instagram, 18.5 million. Facebook, 14 million. Twitter, 12 million. The thing is, Twitter is on the decline, and it's constantly losing the user base. I'll be talking about that later. So the gender distribution, the most interesting thing I've noticed is that Instagram is a social network mainly for girls, and it can be explained, but I've seen so many, popular and influential male accounts that I've started to actually doubt this number, but it's been given by a very serious agency. So we can now all accept that Instagram is the social network for girls. So if any boys have an Instagram account, delete it. The average mood of the social networks, basically when there are some people who log on to, for example, Facebook, just to complain about something. And there's a lot of people like that. I've seen people just who have their entire feed just complaining about different brands and tagging them, hashtagging them, just to to get through to people, to let brands know that they screwed up somewhere. But the most negative social network is LiveJournal. And does anyone actually here have an account on LiveJournal? No. Thought so, because it's primarily for people over 30, and it's a very old school network. It's basically like people having their own diary, and but instead of writing "Dear Diary," they write something like, "Oh my God, I hate all the people in the world. Everything is pain. Existence is futile." That's basically a quarter, or almost a third of LiveJournal's audience, because it's old people. I don't mean to be ageist, but LiveJournal is basically old people nagging. That's it. Especially the popular accounts. And Instagram is the most positive network because no one logs on to Instagram to complain about something. People log on to Instagram to post a selfie or something. So 91% of the posts on Instagram are positive. Now, a little bit more in-depth stats. So VK, as I've told, 87 million people log on to VK monthly, and that's an aggregated number. It's not 87 million 87 million unique users. It's 87 million users overall. 13 million authors, so basically every month there are 13 million unique posts from people, and it's the youngest social network in Russia because almost 70%, more than 70% of it are 34 years or younger. And you can see the main interests of the audience, what's the biggest share, and it's used primarily for communication, for messages, and for entertainment. People who uses VK to listen to music? A lot of people, yeah. It's becoming more and more difficult to do that on VK because they've introduced the subscription service or something like that. They're basically ruining their own application. Next, so the main 3 points of VK are that school and university students are the most active. They post, they comment, they give likes, left, right, and center, and there's a lot of topical community pages dedicated to music, beauty, lifestyle, life hacking, etc., cooking, I don't know, having babies, and the majority of VK are from Moscow and St. Petersburg. I would include the cities with a population of more than 1 million to this list. So Moscow, the biggest cities in Russia are the majority of VK. I'll talk about that later. So Facebook is the most popular social network in the world, but in Russia, the audience of Facebook is very, very specific because the majority of Russian Facebook is professional people, entrepreneurs, businessmen, marketers, media workers, media personalities even, many journalists, many popular journalists are registered on Facebook and actively use it instead of VK. The reasons for that are still unclear, but it's the fact that professional people and slightly older people than those who use VK, they use Facebook actively. The monthly audience is minuscule compared to VK. It's 14 million people. And of course a measly 1 million authors, but the audience is, as I mentioned, is older, 25 to 34 years old is the majority, then followed by 35 to 44 years old, and I'll just quickly scroll through. So you see the age distribution of Facebook. compare that to VK, much younger. So, as I've said, these are the 3 key points about Facebook. It's only Moscow and St. Petersburg because there's not a lot of accounts of popular people, of people at all from the regions. So yeah, Instagram is the fastest growing social network because of the features they add, because they constantly work on the application. And the monthly audience is in Russia is 18.5 million. The daily audience is 11 million. So 11 million people log on to Instagram, post a photo, watch some videos, and just leave. There are no there is no data about the age distribution of Instagram, and that's because you don't have to specify your age. And Instagram doesn't really provide any stats in regards to the user age. But we know that 78.5% of Instagram are women. So that's an important factor, really, when you make advertising for Instagram. You have to bear in mind that there are no men on Instagram. So it is a base for visual communication. You post photos to your friends, you share something with your friends, you make videos, you make live streams, just talking or doing something. There are lots of celebrities, and if you want to make an advertising post with a celebrity on Instagram, it's going to cost too much. And it is, as I mentioned, it is the fastest growing one. And now, moving on to my favorite social network. Okay, it's just a treasure trove. It's the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my work. So it's traditionally OK is the social network for personal interaction. There is little to no activity in news feeds. People don't really like. I will make a remark on that. People do not. People on OK, they don't like content if it's creative. They like very simple posts about, I don't know, patriotism, about the president. They like this sort of stuff. People on OK are very patriotic. And if a brand makes something truly creative, it will go unnoticed on OK. And the female audience is the majority because I don't know why. People used to use this network to actually find their old friends from school, etc. It doesn't look like the old OK anymore, ever since it's been bought by mail.ru. And the audience is much older. The audience of OK is much older than any other social network in Russia. And as you can see, more than 20% of OK users are 50 plus. So if you are looking to, if you want to talk to your grandma or granddad online, you definitely will find them on OK. Mainly the users of OK are from the regions, which is kind of a given because people there don't like social networks except for this one. And as I said, it's all about simplicity, the soul of this nation, and patriotism, which is not a bad thing, but it's very unique. It's very hard to work with. From a professional standpoint, Twitter, there's not really much to tell about Twitter except for it's been in decline. It's not that popular anymore. The only topics that people tend to discuss on Twitter are politics and the news. People only, and there is a small segment of teens just talking about their favorite bands, I don't know, personalities, but it's a very small segment. So mostly it's politics and the news, and the communication is very fast-paced. So if you work with Twitter and someone messages you or tags you in their tweet, you will have to respond in in a matter of, you have a very, very small time window, because if 30 minutes pass after you've been messaged, and if you didn't reply, you can forget about it, because people won't even look back at their old tweet. So the key facts about all the Russian social networks: more than half of Russians use social networks, where they spend an average of 2 hours a day. VK is the most popular in Russia. The young people, the youth, are the biggest audience on VK. OK is second popular social network. Facebook is common in Moscow and St. Pete's. Instagram is the fastest growing. Twitter, I wrote that in Russian. Twitter is in decline in terms of audience growth. That's amazing. I made that presentation bilingual on purpose, because otherwise, you know, the brains would melt. So messengers, I'd like to ask you a question. Does anyone use Telegram? Telegram? Quite a lot of people. How many of you guys are subscribed to any kind of channels? Channels, yeah, right. Just random exclamations. What do you read about on Telegram? Right. Yeah, any political channels? Thank God. And anything about marketing? Are you subscribed to the Institute's channel? Yeah. Am I subscribed? Oh yes, I was. So, because I believe that Telegram and messengers overall, they have become quite a unique phenomenon, because it's not really a messenger anymore. Because if you look at your feed, and you will see that there are tons of channels that you have eventually someday you subscribe to, and it's not really about communication, it's about reading latest news in a very convenient way. So in this sense, Telegram is a mix of a social network, a messenger, and a news channel, not a news channel, like a news source. And it's very, very, very weird, and it's amazing what has been done with Telegram. So, and that's why they are rapidly growing. In the first 3 years, Telegram has gained over 100 million users. So the other trend, that was the first trend of the social media, the growth of messengers. The second one is the increasing popularity of video content, and there is an explanation to that, very logical one. When you does everyone use Facebook? Well, who does use Facebook daily, like on a daily basis? Yeah? Okay. If you log on to Facebook, the first thing you see in your news feed are the live videos, the native videos, and any kind of video content. That's because Facebook has created an algorithm of prioritizing the posts. So the last thing you will ever see on your news feed are the reposts and external links to other websites. The first thing you will come across are the videos of some pages that you subscribe to. So most of the content on Facebook that you scroll through is the videos. That's because of the algorithm. And same thing with Instagram, because it's owned by Facebook. Stories and videos come first on the priority algorithm. The same thing is, I believe the same thing is being done with VK. So the video content is on the rise. Last year's trend was using GIF animations. This year's trend is using videos in your content. The level of influence of social media is becoming increasingly high, because we've all seen people discuss Brexit, the referendums in Italy, the US elections, and it was all crazy, and it was all on the contrary to what the news said. The official news channels said one thing, especially in the US, with Fox and CNN saying one thing, and people on social media talking about completely the other, and it was crazy. And we can see that most of the time social media can influence a person's opinion even more than the TV, because no one, even especially the younger generation, people don't trust the TV anymore. So there's that, and also there is a trend. There is an increasing and a very alarming trend of fake news, where community pages, authors, they create news that are. The core idea is that they are fake, and they are aimed at making people think something, influencing people. That's actually a very old picture. It's from the 80s, I believe. So there's that. It was some kind of tabloid. So fake news is a very alarming trend, because people make stuff up, other people believe it, and the public opinion is shifted. And that's very dangerous, and Facebook is actually working on the solution for that. The other trend is clickbait. I believe everyone has seen this, where there's this headline saying, I don't know, well, for example, this one, the one animal crocodile hunter, that's Steve Irwin, by the way, the one animal crocodile hunter wouldn't mess with. And to find out what this animal was, you have to click, and you will be redirected to another page. You will have to click something again, and you will be stuck in this endless loop of advertisements and, bad internet. And this is the scourge of social networks. And on Facebook, there is a very useful page called Stop Clickbait, so you won't have to click to this news website. So you can see on top of the post, the guys from Stop Clickbait, they reveal what this animal is, so you don't have to click. So now we know that the only animal Steve Irwin didn't want to mess with was the hippopotamus. And actually, Steve Irwin, does anyone here know who Steve Irwin is? Nice. That is very surprising, because he died a very long time ago. Can you tell us anything about Steve Irwin?
Oh, he has his own problem about animals in the United States.
He's Australian, but he lived in the US.
Yeah. I watched another program with him when I was a child. I know that he I remember one problem with him when he put his own baby to the crocodile. Because maybe nobody did it, and only he did it, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think why he was so popular in the United States.
He was very popular because he was fearless. He would interact with the most dangerous animals on the planet, and he actually died because he was stung by a manta ray. Do you know manta rays? He was stung by it, and he through the heart, and he died, unfortunately. But now his son has grown up, the one that was put into the crocodile enclosure. He now grew up, and he is very much like Steve Irwin. So clickbait, blah, blah, blah. So in social media, what? Has everyone seen this? Is this relevant? Yeah? Okay, good. Because, it's the center of the hype train. So yeah, in social media, the most important factor is analyzing your competitors, because you will not survive, your brand will not survive on social media without analyzing your competitors. And the next section of the presentation is about why do we need it and how do we do it. And this was done by I will give you an example of how to analyze your competitors, and actual work done. This was done. I have to credit these people. This was done by a little big agency who have their own course in social media, and they are quite successful in social media marketing. So the actual research was done by them. So we have to judge our competitors by 4 criteria, and it's content, design, activities, and moderation. In terms of design, we mean how the actual page looks, what kind of content we use, if we use some sort of unique style, if you use templates, this sort of thing. In terms of content, how well it's written, is it interactive, is there any schedule to the posts, things like that. Another important part of running a page is having contests and having them regularly and exploiting some interesting mechanics. Another one's moderation, because you can't leave your feedback unnoticed, unresponded to, because communicating back to the client is very important. And this is an example. This was done by Little Big Agency as part of their social media course. So they were working with MVideo, a popular electronics store, and they had the MVideo. They had the pages on VK, Facebook, Instagram, and some other social networks. So they started with making a list of direct and indirect sort of collateral competitors that MVideo had. And the main ones were, you all know them, Eldorado, MediaMarkt, Technosila, and DNS. The new format ones, the stores which specify on electronics like mobile devices. And the e-commerce is where you don't really have a physical store. You have to order products online, and these will be delivered to you. Otherwise, you'll pick them up from this one place. After a primary analysis, and basically this was done very quickly. It was like a matter of one session by the guys. They picked 5 main competitors that they would have to analyze in terms of their activities on social media. And that's what they did. They created these rating pages for each brand, and they analyzed content, design, activities, and moderation. Can you see what's written in small text? Can you read it? Hang on. So I'll magnify it. So you see, in content, they did an in-depth analysis of how people, how generously people give likes, how they engage on the page, how many followers the pages have, and they made an analysis about the diversity of the content and gave Eldorado 2 stars. Then they analyzed the design, that the design is very bland, the content is not adjusted to the format of the certain social network. Then they analyzed the activities, and this one was actually very funny because Eldorado is a long-time partner of a semi-popular Counter-Strike tournament, but no one knows about this. Because have you heard that Eldorado is a partner of a Counter-Strike tournament? Of course not. And that's one of the disadvantages. That's what they are missing out on. And of course, if you have a majority of polls on your page, this will just ruin it. The moderation was quite good, and so they did this for all 5 brands. MediaMarkt, a decent page, but completely unmoderated. They don't even have at the time. They didn't even have a guy who responded to comments and did this sort of stuff. It was unmoderated. It was just a barren wasteland of content. Then Technosila did the same, Sviznoi, and Enter. And lastly, they did the same sort of analysis for MVideo. They gave them recommendations, which you can see on the bottom of the page, and they gave ratings to each one of the criteria. And this is the most popular way to analyze your competitors, because it's very hands-on. You can see everything right in front of your eyes, and you can actually come up with recommendations on the fly. So The other important thing that you have to kind of compare with your competitors, does anyone know what ER is? No. Okay, so ER is engagement rate. So how well people engage with your page. It's counted. The most simple way of calculating it is you take you add up the number of likes, reposts, comments, and you divide it by the number of people who saw the post by reach. So I really need some chalk because it would be very useful to write this down. Okay. Oh, it's wireless. Yeah, there it is. So ER, nice. ER, Jesus. That's no better. So ER, engagement rate. Oh, this is perfectly. Engagement rate is likes, reposts, comments, all of this added up, Jesus, all of this added up and divided by reach. And reach is how many people saw your post. Sometimes this is, where did I, oh. Sometimes it is swapped by the number of subscribers, number of followers. Number of followers. So there are two types of engagement rate. This is the most popular when you divide engagement by how many followers you have. Some people counted, some people divided by reach. I usually do it with the followers because it's the common way. And so you get, that's why the numbers are so small. For example, Burger King has an engagement rate of 0.01%, because they have 3 million followers, and on average they gain like 30, no, it's 0.1 then. So the number is not that big, but in terms of when you work with a large brand with many followers, a number of a figure of 0.2 is considered really, really good, because that means that people are actively engaging with your page. But in terms of, this works in terms of electronics. When you work with some other types of brands like fashion, 0.2 is nothing. People have to engage with your page more, and the average figure that's considered quite good is 5 to 10% engagement. So yeah, then we count the averages, and we give we come up with recommendations to how so as to how to run our page, and that's what the guys did for video. So if you can see that, just quickly skim it, and we will move on. So there are, of course, this is not the only approach. You can just look at and you can just take a look at what people are doing. For example, there is an example of several music festivals. Has anyone been to, for example, VK Fest? No. Okay. It's actually quite good. So if you have a chance, you should definitely go there. So, as you can see in the text, these three music festivals, they use very simple and pretty branding techniques for branding their posts, for making them correspond to the brand style. And most music festivals, they attach playlists to their post so that people can actually listen to, on VK, of course, so that people can actually listen to the songs and they can expect what to see on the festival. The other approach is brand mapping, and it's a very hands-on approach. It can be very metaphorical. It can be not that precise, but it's a very good way of showing things to your boss. So, for example, you come up with a brand map. You have, for example, 2 axes. You can have four axes, and it's still 2, but you know what I mean, 4 directions. You can show to your boss where your brand comes up short in terms of, I don't know, content quality, or in terms of the level of, you know, hardcore stuff. And Burger King is the undisputed leader in terms of hardcore. They post memes. They don't care about dissing other brands like McDonald's. They always do that, like on a daily basis. And you can have something like this. You can come up with your own axes so that you can, it's actually 4, yeah, satisfaction, style, functionality, and technologies. So it's 4, yeah. So it's totally up to you. If you want to visualize how your brand competes with the others, you can do brand mapping like this, because it's very useful when you have to get a budget from your boss, and he will say like, oh yeah, this looks very interesting, so spot on, here's your budget. So yeah, target audiences, it's when you work in any kind of marketing, social media, CRM, you name it, you need to define your target audience. And this is the worst example of a target audience. It's the most common one. Clients will, if you work in a social media, in an agency, people will come up to you, clients will come to you, and they will say like, so this is our target audience. They will show this. And the only thing you want to do at this point, you just want to shoot yourself, because you just go like this, because male, female, 18 to 65, so that's the whole country already. They live in large cities, okay, that's half of the country. Income average plus. When people, different people have very different opinions on what is an average income. And I once heard a person say, so he said, the income is average, and I said, could you please define average? And he was like, they earn 30 to 50,000 rubles a month. And I was like, spot on. Yeah, which is, of course, different people have varying opinions. And what you should do is create a target audience, and you should segment it. I forgot where's the, yeah, it will come up later on. So you take an audience, even like this, it might work. You could confine it to female, 18 to, I don't know, 35. This will work, and you segment it. This is an example of a brand. I forgot the name. I think it was H&M. I might be wrong. It's some kind of a fashion, but not that really. It's not that luxurious. Otto? No. So, yeah, they took a target audience of women of a certain age and income, and they divided into 3 main segments. It's usually 4 to 5, but they chose 3, mainstream, trendy, and luxury. And that's what they did. And I'm sure somewhere along the way, Professor Starostin has mentioned this sort of stuff. It's a consumer profile. That's what you do every time you do segmentation of the target audience. And that's what they did with the trendy segment. So the core, they don't specify the age. They say that the core of the audience is 25 to 35 because they accept that they admit that there might be younger or older women who fall into the trendy segment, but the core is 25 to 35. The income is, the income is that per family member. That's amazing. So they work, where they work, how they work, the examples of these people, how they, what they do on vacations, what they do in their free time. Then the company has to gather this very important thing called an insight. It's basically a mental framework of a person, if you will. It's kind of what people, what the person values in a brand, what she expects from a brand, and how she chooses something when it comes to a decision to purchase something. And then you come up with examples of content for this sort of person and where you can find this trendy person, Instagram, Facebook, and VK. Of course, it's prioritized. So first, to advertise something to this sort of person, it hurts so much. You first go to Instagram, yeah. So this is a basic framework for target audience description. In social media marketing, you get the deepest available description of every possible audience from the client. So if you work for an agency, you get anything you can get, all the data about the customers that you can get. I'll show you why later, a little bit later. There is an example. Because you need as deep an explanation, as deep the information as you can get, because you will not be able to segment the target audience without it. Then you do the segmentation. It's usually 3 to 4, maybe 5 segments. You make an in-depth description like this for each segment. So this was an example of just the one, but they did a description for all 3. A consumer profile. And then you choose relevant platforms for each segment, key messages, what you want to convey as a brand, and possible topics and styles of content, and you get the profit. About promotion, it's there are a few KPIs in SMM. Did you like the picture? Yeah, I'll just leave it on. It's done by a very. Does anyone know the author Banksy? Yes, thank you. So the key KPIs in SMM are reach, followers, and engagement. These are the core ones. Sometimes there are many more in-depth KPIs. For example, cost per click, cost per video view, cost per even customer. So, for example, you have a budget for a campaign on social media, and it attracted some customers, a number of customers, and you have to actually calculate how much one customer, one order, or one purchase cost you in terms of social media marketing. But these are the core ones. And another very important concept in social media is AIDA, which shows you basically the journey of the customer towards the purchase and how his mind works, basically. It's awareness, interest, desire, action, and then possibly satisfaction. Not necessarily, but you know, it's a tough life. So yeah, this you might want to memorize because it comes up in any kind of course, and it's a very useful model because you can actually trace your progress in terms of social media through this framework. Working with targeted ads is a very specific story. You can advertise your brand through context, like Yandex Metrika and Google AdWords, or you can make targeted ads on social networks. This is how it looks in this is how the initial screen looks in Facebook when you create ads. You have different objectives, and you can choose any type. But when you are starting out with Facebook, when you are beginning to create, when you're making your first ad, those two highlighted objectives are the ones that you really need at first. Because as you get used to Facebook advertising and the mechanics, you will use other ones. But these are the two basic ones. Boost your posts. So you pay for clicks, you pay for views, actually, CPM. You pay for views, or promote your page. So you pay Facebook to advertise your page in people's news feeds. So the basic algorithm is you choose and set several audience segments. Same thing you did with segmentation. You do that on Facebook because there is a very detailed targeting framework. You design posts for each segment. So you create an audience in Facebook. So for example, male 18 to 36, Moscow, because you can add a geographic confinement. Well, you create this audience, you create a post for this audience, and there you pay money, and the post is advertised to men who are 18 to 36 years old, and they see this post in the newsfeed. Then you set a budget and preferences for the post. So basically, you pay money to Facebook, and then you analyze which ads work best. You keep the best performers. You adjust them to other audiences, and it's usually it's a very, very long and tedious work. It's very repetitive because you have to constantly readjust your audiences. You tweak them, and it can last for months. But when you finally find this holy grail of posts, you just keep it for months. You keep it running on a budget for months. So this is how post promotion works. When you create your post, you can see if you are a page admin, you can boost your own post. You see this button, you click it, and a very simple menu comes up. You set your budget, set your audience, and you're good to go. And you promote the post. So yeah, the simple way of creating your target audience looks like this. So you can see, you can choose the gender, you can choose the age, the location even. So when you click Moscow in the menu, a map comes up, and you can click, you can drop a pin and set the limits of the area. Then you can have detailed targeting by interests and etc., etc. And then Facebook will calculate your potential audience, which is not necessarily true because in order for 5 million people to actually see your ad, you have to pay like 50,000 or something. It's a lot. So yeah, this is how it's done. This is how it's analyzed. Facebook will show you how much money you spent, how much people you reached, how many people liked, shared, and commented on the post. And you can add some extra budget. This is how it works on Facebook. The system is quite simplified on VK. That's why I'm showing you Facebook, because it's the most detailed. And you can promote the page the same way. You go to your page, you click promote page. That's what you do. This is how audiences look like. So, not the audiences, the ads for audiences. So you can see the ad is page likes image 2. The audience is Moscow 20 to 50. So it's not gender restricted. It's just people from 20 to 50. So yeah, the amount of money spent, it shows you everything. It doesn't hide how much money, how much a customer costs you. So yeah, and this is what people, and this is how the CTA posts look like. Is anyone familiar with CTA? CTA, what this is? So CTA is call to action. It's this sort of button on the left. So you see получить предложение. You see that? That's CTA. So you call your potential customer to do something. And this button can look like learn more, read more, order now, buy now, and this is all CTA. When you click this button, you get to the page, get to the a sort of landing page, and then you fill out your information and you will get an endless stream of calls from people from Audi. Same thing, CTA, fill out your information if you're interested, and it's all done on Facebook. It never, rarely redirects you to the brand website itself. Same thing it's the same thing on Facebook, done for Jeep. That's how they advertised their like a special event in Moscow. Another CTA button, which would lead you to like a personal info page. That's how it looked. So yeah. We can see CTA for potatoes, shop now. In the past, people went door to door trying to sell sacks of potatoes. We are all too young to remember this, but actually, in the past, people would go door to door trying to sell potatoes in sacks. I've never seen it, but you know, older people remember it. But now, those people know that Facebook exists, and that's what they do. So what about VK? You can boost follower numbers on VK by creating a post that asks people to join their page. You can brand all the content the thing that Yeka did. But if you want to get more original, has anyone seen Black Mirror? No, it's a British TV series about, oh yeah, you've seen it. Wow. So yeah, it's a British TV series about the future, the technology, and how it's all very bad for us. So yeah, it's had 3 seasons. Every episode is its own story. And they had this story about, have you seen this episode?
About likes?
Yeah, about likes, about advertisements. So it was the episode about how personalized ads will become, so that you can actually, you know, make out with the guy on the hologram, and that's what this inspired. In part, I don't know what exactly inspired them, but I'm sure they were inspired by this episode, because they made Nescafe. They made a personalized ad. It was very. In terms of technicalities, it was very complex, but it looked very simple. So what did they do? They recorded personal video messages for 50 female names, most popular ones, of course. It didn't include something like Pelageya, but it was Anastasia, Katerina, etc., etc. So they recorded 50 videos from like this very handsome man who was offering you a cup of coffee, and it was something like this. They created 50 posts for each name. So they went through all of this effort of creating posts for each name with a video, and they launched targeted ads based on post boosting. So they created 50 separate audiences with 50 different names. This was done with a tool, with a special tool, which uses name passing. So you pass the whole base, the whole user base, and you come up with lists, with separate lists of women named Yekaterina, with women named Anastasia, etc. And they targeted all of the posts to those women. And this was the reaction. If you can't see it, I will kind of magnify it. So women started reposting it because they thought this was a personal message for them. And you know, the people who didn't actually understand what was going on, they were like, "Oh my God, this is a personal message from Nescafe. This is amazing." So yeah, this is what happened. Oh, sorry. This was the reaction of women. So yeah, this is what this is one of the tools they used to parse the user bases. But this is just for guys who are really interested in stuff like that. It's called Cerebro Target. I think it's still in beta, but it's very, very useful. So another example of targeted ads. I'm sure all of you have at some point used VK on desktop computers, and all the time in link boxes to the side you see all of this guff. The cool thing to those ads is that they actually are targeted to you, and if you specified some very personal information, it will index it, and it will give you some recommendations, like, for example, oh my God, if you look at those 12 images, I will magnify them. You see, if you specified that you are a certain zodiac type, VK and agencies, they will index it and they will give you this ad. So for example, if you are Pisces, you will get an ad for how to get married if you are Pisces. So yeah. And this is what happens if you specify that your birthday is on 16th of December. Yeah. Something like that. And another example, I've never seen that, but agencies have assured me that this works, and that if by some way of internet magic, databases will find out you are a blonde, that's what happens. My God. So yeah, and if you live somewhere, brands will create simple ads like this one. So yeah, so what about Instagram? There used to be some experiments with stories and simple posts. So this was an advertisement for an education course about social media, but it was in St. Pete's. So basically, if you put your finger onto the screen, of course you'll be redirected to the course page. They tried a provocative message of, you know, keep scrolling if you don't want to find out about the course. And of course, all of it was targeted, so it wasn't aimed at general public. You wouldn't see this ad, but if you specified that you work with SMM, you're interested in it, you would see this ad on Instagram. This, I don't know why they did it, but simply for making stuff happen. And Jeep actually advertised their content in stories, so they made GIF animations, they made cinemagraphs, etc. We don't have much time. So this is how you advertise on Instagram. But this way is the most common one. It's mass liking. I'm sure when you're using Instagram, you just scroll through your feed and you get likes from, I don't know, barbershops, hairdressers. You get likes from flower shops. I don't know, car brands. Not that often. Like people who do stuff, and you don't know them, and basically what they are doing is they mass like people who follow a certain page. So what you do, you follow a person, all the people in the follower list of some popular page. You like their photos and you hope for some action in return. The conversion in this case is not that high, but it's the cheapest way of advertising your brand, if you will, and it's sometimes it's the fastest one. So mass liking is very, very popular still. Not the best of ways, not the most I don't know, ethical, but it's still very popular. So the key points and recommendations for advertising on social media: you have to have your targeting bases narrow and intricate, and you have to do retargeting all the time. You have to remember about AIDA, awareness, interest, desire, action. Create many ad options, create many audiences, use the best performers. You have to constantly tweak your ads. Don't forget about CTAs, call to action, buy now, shop now, etc. Pay attention to the visual aspect, and of course use the insights. Without insights, you will have no idea what sort of post to create. You will just be shooting blanks. And the other very popular mechanic is planting ads in communities among opinion leaders and celebrities. I'll have to specify that opinion leaders and celebrities is the most expensive way of doing your ads, because they have a very celebrities and opinion leaders. They have a very loyal fan base, and it's very their fan bases are very sensitive to advertisements. So the main risk factor with opinion leaders and celebrities, they sometimes will will be unwilling to cooperate with your brand if they feel that it will damage their reputation among the followers, and and most of the time they ask for a lot of money. For example, I remember a couple of years ago, one agency approached, who was that? Some very popular mum. Oh no, it was last year, and I don't know. So how many girls here use Instagram? Girls using Instagram, basically all of you. Does anyone here know Karina Paletskich? Yes. So for those of you who do know, it's this very popular mum with 2 daughters, and she just gave birth to a third one. Don't ask me how I know this, but basically last year an advertising post with her in her account, so made by her, it would cost 200,000 rubles, one post. Where she advertises your brand very, very intricately, very like with some sort of subtext. So she will by chance she will just grab this bottle and just carry it across the screen very fast, and it's a very expensive way of advertising. So yeah, another case is oh my God, it was done again by Little Big Agency, and the task was to promote. Is anyone familiar with the brand Supra? It used to be very popular in the 90s because it's a very cheap electronics brand. I believe they make it in Taiwan. No. Somewhere in Southeast Asia, basically. And they went to VK, they made targeted ads, they made memes, however unfunny they were, for certain communities in VK. But the most effective thing that they did, they planted a fake outrage post, like a fake complaint. I will show it to you in the next slide. They made a fake account of like a 13-year-old girl who complained that my boyfriend got me an iPad, but it wasn't an iPad. I will show you, but I have to warn you that it contains some bad language. So, but you know, so this is it. This is what happened. It's a fake account, and it's a story about how her boyfriend got her an iPad, but covered the Supra logo with an Apple sticker. And people actually reacted to it. It was reposted to MDK and the other one. I don't know the bottom one. Is anyone familiar with the bottom one? I know MDK, but this. Okay, good. I'll bear that in mind. So this is what happened. They created a fake story, and it actually worked. So yeah, I believe this is it. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Don't ask me how I'm doing because it's Saturday. So if you have any questions about social media, feel free to ask them. I'll be happy to answer. If not, then I'll just go back to bed. Questions? Yeah.
Where did you find some statistics about social sites? Is it free information?
It can be free. Basically, there are, hang on, notes. So there are a lot of tools and websites that can provide you with social media statistics. For example, if you want statistics from YouTube, you use Social Blade. They have all the stats on subscribers, views, dynamics, etc. If you want, off the top of my head, most of the time in my work, I used, for social media, I used Brand Spotter. It is paid, it is a monthly subscription, but if you want a free option, let me think. There was a tool, I think it's called Bubkey, and it's free, but it's very clunky, and it doesn't provide you with all the information you need. What else? There is a platform called GetBlogger. Oh, hang on. There is a platform called GetBlogger that lets you work with actual. It's a platform that connects clients with celebrities or opinion leaders. So it's mainly for Instagram. So yeah. What else is there? Brandspot. Yeah. Flurry. Okay. There's Flurry. Didn't know about this one. There is a beta testing of 42 app, which is a very it positions itself as very useful for analyzing audiences, etc. So yeah, I used when I worked directly with social media, I used Brand Spotter because they give you, not only they give you the statistics, they also give you the moods of your followers. They give you how much negative posts you got, how much positive reviews you got, so stuff like that. So yeah, check them out, they're good. It's a very automated framework, and it has a very big team of analysts. So you as a client, you can order statistics for your brand, and it will be counted. Of course, it will be covered globally. You will, if you're a Russian brand, of course, this will not matter because you'll get like 99% of your likes and comments, etc., are from Russia. But then you'll get this one rogue click from the US or something. It covers the whole world basically. Yeah. Yep. So if there are no further questions, I'd like to thank you for coming here on a Saturday. This is amazing. Yeah.
So thank you so much. Just a brief announcement that next Friday we're going to have a next guest speaker lecture. On Friday, I'll tell you the place exactly, the number of the room, and we'll talk about intercultural relationship. We will have a representative from Sri Lanka Embassy, a third-year student of Yimo University, and it'll be very interesting. And I also have to say that we will publish that video on a YouTube channel, so you can go through this. And yeah, and
okay.
Can we upload your presentation as well?
The what?
I mean your slides.
My slides were perfect. Yeah. I just.
Okay, we will manage it later on.
Oh, can I upload my presentation? Sure. Yeah. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
By email, and everyone will be happy.
So, thank you so much. See you.
Yeah, bye. See ya.